Welcome to the Byzantine Coin Podcast, where we celebrate and discuss all things numismatic from the Byzantine era of the Roman Empire. My name is Kyle Bullen, and this is episode 10. For the 10th episode, I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I wanted to discuss my journey into a coin with World War II provenance and some of the moral questions that kind of brought up for me. And after that, I wanted to talk about the importance of doing your due diligence when you're looking at targets you want to purchase at auction. And I've got a few examples of Byzantine coins that I've found that either are forgeries or have something wrong with the descriptions on things. So we'll go through those as well. So with that, let's get started. So first off, I wanted to talk about this Constantine X histamenon from between 1059 and 1067 AD. It's 4.38 grams, roughly 27 millimeters. And it's a beautiful coin. It's got great purplish toning. At this point, the gold content in the treasury coins had been reduced, I think, to roughly about 75% gold. Maybe I'm a little off on that number, but this sometimes allowed the coins to tone a little bit, as well as the fact that this is from an old collection. This coin came to market in 2022 from Loy Numismatics from the Dr. Max Blascheg collection. He had a great Byzantine coin collection, and he kept copious notes on all the coins he purchased, where he purchased them from, and a lot of times how much he purchased them for. In this case, this coin was purchased by the doctor from Otto Heibling in February 22nd, 1944, according to Loy's auction description. They say O Heibling, and I could be mispronouncing that name. But it's one that I did not buy this at the auction. At the time, I was more focused on earlier solid eye rather than later Byzantine coins. But this has got a great pedigree, and I bought this at a New York International show from a dealer. I want to say maybe in 2023 for this, and so I paid quite a bit more for it than what it actually hammered for, because I really like the provenance. Now let's dig into the provenance a little bit. It has the original tag, which is, I think, super cool. And for me, one of the things that was a driver on it, I'm a World War II historian as well. I like to read about World War II and listen to podcasts about them and documentaries. And this was for me a way of getting provenance that connected it to World War II. So it had World War II and Byzantine coins going for it. So that was sort of exciting when I purchased the coin and was one of the drivers of why I purchased the coin. And it's a nice coin. But it's got the original ticket from Otto Heibling. It says Munich and gives the address in Munich. And there's some information on it as to what it is. And the coin, when it was purchased in 1944, Dr. Blascheg was roughly 14 years old, maybe 15 years old. So maybe his father purchased it for him. I don't know. It's not what I would consider a high-end coin. It's fairly common, but it's got a great pedigree. So I got this coin, and it said it was a privately acquired from O. Helbling. So they keep it pretty vague in the Lloyd description. When I bought it, of course, it mentioned the World War II provenance, that it was coming out of Munich in 1944. But I just started to dig in. I'm a provenance guy. I really like researching the coins that I purchase and learning more about them. One of the first things I did was tried to learn about Otto Helbing. It was a dealer that I wasn't familiar with. Um, so I looked them up, and they have done a number of auctions since they were founded in roughly 1870, I think, um, and had done a number of auctions. And one of the things is, there's some good information on these coin dealers from World War II, but I was having trouble finding a lot of things on it. And one of the things I ran into, I found an article published in WWII Journal from September of 2023 by Emmanuel Bardella. I could be saying that wrong, but the article was titled "The Annihilation of the German Numismatic Market During the Nazi Era," with some observations on the countermeasures adopted by Jewish ancient coin dealers. And this article had really great information as to what was going on at the time. So if you are interested in that, it's available online. You can find it. It's got great information. So researching Otto Helbing, it was started in the 1870s, and then it was purchased by Helbing's nephews, Heinrich and Moritz Hirsch. Um, Heinrich took things over after Moritz left the business, and when he passed away, his son, Gerhard Hirsch, became a partner, and they continued to run the auction house until 1938. Now, the Nazis came to power in 1933 and immediately made it difficult for Jewish-owned businesses, obviously. And a number of the famous ancient coin, or I should just say numismatic auction houses that are almost dynastic because they're family-run auction houses in Frankfurt, very quickly started to hedge and open offices outside of German jurisdiction, Nazi jurisdiction. So you see a lot of the auction houses opening up subsidiary offices in Switzerland, offices in Amsterdam, offices in Prague. In this case, Gerhard Hirsch opened a office in Prague, which at the time was not controlled by the Nazis. And Heinrich Hirsch kept the business going until 1938 when he was forced to sell it off, and it was in a process they called Aryanization of Jewish businesses. And he was smuggled out of the country with a fake passport into Switzerland because at the time, by 1938, it was very difficult for Jews to get out of Germany. So what's interesting is he sold it to a gentleman named Karl Kress, and they had a business relationship. But Karl Kress was a printer in Munich and had done a number of his catalogs. So while not in the numismatic business, they were business partners or associates. And clearly he had an interest in this. Maybe he was a collector that had participated in some of the auctions as well. But he bought out the Otto Heibling name and the stock in the numismatic library. And sometimes there seems to be some back and forth as to that he paid very little for it. But one of the things that the article that I was talking about mentions is a lot of times these auction houses were, first of all, they had sort of allied themselves into a co-op almost. I think they use the word cartel, but I think that has a negative connotation to it. But a co-op to control the ancient coin market, and that started during the Weimar Republic when there was seriously tough economic times, bad inflation. They started this consortium to kind of fix the bid prices and to not compete against each other and to make sure that everybody was able to profit. This continued on during the Nazi era where they started to open offices and started to do some accounting things where they were moving stock off the books and mispricing what the value of the stock was. And there was a number of different accounting loopholes that they took advantage of, which was good because the Nazis were year over year applying more and more pressure to Jewish-owned businesses until when they finally, I think in 1938 or 39, essentially confiscated any kind of Jewish property of value. And it was illegal for them to own coins. And we'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, Carl Kress took this over. Not a lot of information on Carl Kress. Carl Kress, after the war, continued to run auctions and included the Otto Heibling name in his auctions, or Helbing. I'm mispronouncing all over the place. I apologize. Otto Helbling name in his auctions. I think he died in 1969, and his wife continued things until the 1980s. And then when she passed away, the stock that was left over was given to, or was sold off through an auction at Gordy and Mosh in, I think, 2016, if I remember right. Um, One thing I will say is that Felix Schlesinger was also a coin dealer in Berlin and fled to Amsterdam when the Nazis took over. And then, of course, the Nazis took over the Netherlands as well, and he was deported to Auschwitz and killed. But his son, Mark Salton, who is a famous numismatist in the United States, uh, when his library was sold, they red flagged Carl Kress as a red flag dealer. Now, there was two Carl Cresses, and I think they confuse the Carl Kress that had worked with the ALIU, the Art Looting Investigation Unit, with the United States. He had been a Luftwaffe photographer, and he had done a number of art-related things for the Third Reich. And the ALIU took him as a prisoner, and so there is some confusion as to that they are the same person, and they are not. So Carl Kress, it seems like, was I would imagine at least a friend and business associate of the Hirsch family. Let's see. So Heinrich Hirsch opened an office in Prague. Let's see, he was deported to Theresienstadt and then Auschwitz once the Nazis took over Czechoslovakia. And he survived the Holocaust and came out and opened up a business under his own name in Munich after the war, which is still going today. So this is sort of where I've been going. I've been learning about all these different pieces and these different um, auction houses and their history, and how a lot of them all ended up in Switzerland, and numerous houses still have ties to them today. So finding out that Carl Kress had taken over Otto Helbling was interesting because I found an auction from 1944 from Carl Kress, and lot 2446, pictured here, is the same coin. Now, at first, I didn't think it was the same coin. The picture is terrible. It's washed out because of the flash. They have it listed at 4.5 grams when it's 4.38 grams. And I thought, well, it's similar, but I can't prove that it's the same thing. So I sort of let it be for a while. But if we go back to the last slide and we look at the tag for the coin, it says mine number 892446. So it's from Mooshandling Carl Kress, auction 89, which is a continuation of the Helbing auctions. And this is lot 2446. So it's the same coin. So what I started to think about now was, yes, World War II provenance is very exciting and I think very cool. But then I started to think about, well, where did the coin come from? And that started to make me think in terms of, World War II provenance and the moral implications of owning a coin like this, and where it came from. Now, all coins tell a story, right? But this is one that we actually know. We know that it came from an auction in 1944. For whatever reason, Kress had moved the auction from Munich to Salzburg in Austria. Probably, I would wager because Munich was being bombed into oblivion at the time. Um, and I think Salzburg was sort of out of range, but I could be wrong on that. Um, So yeah, I started to think about where this coin came from, and three sort of possibilities came up. One, it was from a legitimate source, a legitimately owned collection that was being sold off. It was nearing the end of the war. People were trying to raise money, or maybe, the collection just came to market like it normally would, right? The second option is that it was confiscated from Jews, from a Jewish owner, and and then sold by the Reichsbank through these different auction houses. And then the third option is it was either looted from an occupied country and taken. So you have one of three options, and two of them aren't really great. One of them is really bad. And I can't find anything else on to the owners of who this coin belonged to. What I did find out was there were a number of auctions. They called the Reichsbank auctions, and you can see 239 ancient coins were sold in 1941 through Ruck, Poise, and 41 didn't have any ancient coins but was selling other coins. Um, Grabov, 41 had 231 ancient coins. Helbing, run by Kress, in 41 and 42, and Elizabeth Button, number 90 now. But Elizabeth Button had taken over the Kahn business. She worked for the Kahns. When the Kahns went to Switzerland, she had taken it over, and it was renamed Musanlung Frankfurt, I believe. And then you had another auction in 43. Now they don't list the Kress auction in 1944, but it's probable, the same kind of coins were coming from the same sources, from confiscated Jewish property, and enemies of the Third Reich. Um, so really no way to tell where this coin came from, just that, there's a moral question that you have to ask yourself with World War II provenance. Now, a lot of times coins that were auctioned off back then and even after the war, nobody kept the provenance because it was essentially a wholesaling way to wholesale the business to dealers, and then the dealers would sell the coins at a markup to their customers. Um, I personally like that this still has the provenance and the original ticket with it. I think it tells a story, and it's just while it's cool and interesting, I think it also um, leads to some questions that I don't have the answers to, but that some scary things might have happened with this coin. I don't know. Um, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it when I sell my collection. Maybe I'll donate the proceeds on it to an appropriate charity or something like that. I don't really like the idea of profiting from something like this. Um, but it's an interesting coin and it brings up interesting questions, some interesting moral questions. And it's not just with Byzantine coins, this is agnostic for ancient numismatics, really all numismatics that were sold at the time that provenance can be traced to. So that's my sort of journey into World War II provenance. And it was a Byzantine coin that took me there. Uh, and it's something that I'll continue to try and learn about and understand about what had happened and you know see where it takes me. But some interesting provenance for sure on this coin. So next up, I wanted to talk about some coins that it's important to, well, some coins that I'm using as an example as that it's important to do your due diligence on. This was a coin that I actually won in a recent eLive Kunker auction. Now, I had not intended to bid on this. This was sort of a bidding on the whim kind of thing. So I didn't get a chance to do the typical due diligence that I would do on a coin before I started to put a bid on it. But I like this. It looks really nice, and I feel like I had gotten it at a good price. There was some. I know that there's a lot of really good fakes on this on Romanus III. Um, there's a group of fakes that came out in the 70s from the quote unquote Beirut school. Um, and this is a forgery. I looked, Sear puts a number of these forgeries in his book. And I looked at it and it looked very similar. I contacted Kunker after the auction and I said I had some concerns on this based on what I've seen from a forgery standpoint. Can you guys take another look? And they did, and they got right back to me and said, "Unfortunately, you're right. It is a forgery. We apologize." And they took it off my invoice. And yeah, so if you're in the market for a Romanus III, really, really look at what you're buying because these forgeries are very good. And they're well documented, but they're not well advertised from the documentation standpoint. So yeah, make sure you take a look. I saw another one had come to had been advertised with the MDC auction that recently dropped, and boy, do they have some beautiful Byzantine coins in that, by the way. But it's already been withdrawn. Um, so they fake people out. This thing I had provenance to 1983 from a Hirsch auction, actually, in 1983. So, you know, even though it has provenance to the 1980s, they were coming out in the 1970s. I mean, stuff has been faked forever. So you just have to make sure what you're buying is the right thing, and you're buying it from a reputable source. Fakes are going to get through every auction house there is. It's how they handle them after the fact is how you should probably judge the auction house. And Kunker immediately refund. Well, I didn't pay for it, but immediately took it off my invoice and was very easy to deal with on that. So buy from reputable sources, but also do your homework and do your due diligence. Couple other coins I wanted to show. This is from a new auction house, Maison RC. I think they're in I can't remember. Well, they're in France, but I want to say they're like in Marseille, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe they're in Paris. Anyway, um, it's a new auction house. It came on bidder. They've got a number of nice Byzantine coins that are listed, and two of them had provenance to the William Herbert Hunt collection. First one here is this Leontius. I think it's crazy that in French it's Leonce. It's like Beyonce, but Leonce. This first one is Leontius, with the provenance to the Hunt collection, 4.46 grams. Not the greatest pictures, but it's their first go around here. Maybe they'll get their photography a little tighter as they go. The next one is this Justin the First and Justinian joint reign Solidus. These were made for a couple months at the end of Justin the First's reign to show continuity and transition from Justin the First to Justinian the First. These are rarer coins. They usually go for quite a bit of money. And this one also claims provenance to the Hunt collection. It says lot 64. And this one was lot 464. Don't take auction houses at their word on these things. You have to look up things on your own. So let me just go back to the PowerPoint here. So the first coin here is the Justin the First and Justinian the First joint reign Solidus. Lot 64 in the Hunt collection. The obverse with the two emperors looks very similar, but it's not quite the same. The lettering is off a little bit. The N is off in the Conab. There's the mark here on that. It's sort of the same shape, but I don't think it's the same obverse. Now, if you look at the reverse, it's definitely not the same reverse. There's an eye missing on the Hunt example. The eye is fully there with a ridge. So it is. You can also see that the feet placement on Winged Victory are a little bit different with the foot on the Hunt example between the O and the N on Conab, whereas the foot on the example from Maison RC, the foot is directly over the O. Uh, Not the same coin. Similar, but not the same. Let's look at the Leonci, Leontius. Um, this, again, I can see the obverse looks very similar. I'm sorry, but for the picture from the Hunt catalog, it's a little bit of at an angle. But the obverse is very similar on this, so I could see where maybe they picked that up. Maybe they used one of the services to use AI to scope that out. I don't know. Um, but it's similar. There's more features here in the hand holding the mappa, where there's no features in the hand on the RC Maison RC example. But it's similar. The reverse, however, is not. You have, I don't know, a die flaw or some schmutz on there, and that's not there on the Hunt example. So that would imply that somebody put it on that coin, which seems silly. But then you also see Victoria is completely flat on the RC Maison RC example, and it is completely readable on the Hunt example, as well as AVG is completely readable on the Maison RC example, where it is not. It's cut off on the Hunt example. Now I can sometimes some of these photos, and especially in the earlier catalogs, where these coins were cut out, so I can see maybe some of the edges were cut off or something along those lines. Sometimes in the very early catalogs, not in the Hunt catalog, they use plaster casts of coins for the photograph because they photographed better. But this, in this case, this is very much not the same coin. And you have this auction house claiming it is. Um, so I don't know, I don't think that there was anything nefarious about it because I think they have 30 or so Byzantine coins in the auction, and I don't think any of them are claiming any kind of a provenance. But um, it's clear that either they used AI to figure this out and look at this, and then this hit came up and they went with it, or the provenance was given to them and either they didn't check it or they didn't check it well enough. But if you tried to buy these coins thinking that they're Hunt coins, they are not. And typically, um, the Hunt collection, coins from the Hunt collection, demand a pretty good premium. I've seen anywheres from 40 to 50% to upwards of 100 to 200% of where they would typically go if they didn't have provenance, depending on the coin. But again, another example that you have to do your due diligence when you're looking at coins. Don't take the auction house's word for a lot of the stuff. Now, certain auction houses, I will take their word. They are lights out. I mean, like CNG, forget it. They are awesome. They know what they're talking about. NAC, again, they are awesome. They know what they're talking about. Others, sometimes it depends on the auction house. Um, and like I said, sometimes mistakes happen. I mean, I've seen NGC slabs with the wrong emperor's name on things and stuff. So mistakes happen. We're all human and it's normal. It's just um, as a buyer, when you're looking to add coins to your collection and you're doing your due diligence, because I've said this a couple times, I think of them as investments. You have to make sure you understand what you're putting your money behind. A couple other coins I wanted to point out quick. These just kind of hit recently, but I don't think that either one of the next two that I'm going to show are real. But that's an opinion. I don't have. Uh, it's just my opinion. Put it that way. These are this one just was released from the Coin Cabinet auction. They are calling this a fascinating mule solidus. So a mule is where you have a die from one reign and a die from another reign put together. Now, this is a die from Justinian, and then they're claiming this reverse is a die from Tiberius the second Constantine. Now, Justinian reigned. I don't remember exactly what he reigned to. I mean, does it say here circa 578? I don't know. He reigned to there was an emperor in between them. There was Justin the second in between them. So I think that there was roughly like a 13-year difference from the obverse and the reverse, which I suppose is possible. But I don't really like the way this looks on top. It looks sort of cast. I don't know. So given the fact that you have an emperor from one reign and then an emperor from 13 years later and dies. I mean, you never see them. Man, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just don't think it's real, but if it is, it is unique, like they said. Um, but I just looking at it, it just does not, nothing about this strikes me as real. It looks cast. So I don't know. I mean, you can take my opinion with whatever grain of salt you'd like, but I would probably not be bidding on this one. Now, I'm not going to call up the auction house and say I think this is fake because it's just my opinion, and they have experts too. But it does not look real to me. The next coin I wanted to talk about was this one, same auction house. They are calling this enigmatic coin, um, uh, imitative, possibly from the Silk Road region of Heraclius. They're imitating, I think very poorly imitating, a lightweight solidus of Heraclius. In fact, that's what they reference from Seer. Seer 772 is a lightweight solidus. This is 4.39 grams, so it's not lightweight. The style is all off on this. Everything about this looks fake to me. It looks cast. The letters look sort of mushy. Um, I don't know. I mean, maybe if I looked at it in hand, I'd have a different viewpoint on it. But the style is completely off. I mean, they're trying to say it might be Silk Road or imitative. I just think it's just fake. Um, Again, my opinion. Take that with whatever grain of salt you'd like. I'm sure that the people at Coin Cabinet have seen more coins than I have, but this is also one that I'd probably steer clear of, at least without some better reference material on it. It just nothing about it looks real. So wanted to highlight that as well. So it's important to do your due diligence, do your research, do your homework on the coins that you're looking at buying. Know your references, have your references ready to go so you can see what they look like and if there's something that you're very interested in, make sure you're checking the auction house's description and the auction house's work because auction houses they I mean typically they're not really all that interested in Byzantine coins. I mean, they'll sell them, of course, and they'll make sure that they're cataloged. But they've got, you know, thousands of coins they have to go through for a sale and move through, and these are not, um, the highlights of most auctions. So auction houses can make mistakes for sure. They're human. Like I said, NGC can make mistakes. They're human. Um, so do the best you can. Learn your forgeries if you can. I think I've talked to a couple people about trying to. I know a couple people are working on some things, trying to take a lot of the forgeries that are out there and put it in a more accessible format. There's the Forgery Network. There's a number of sites uh, that look at forgeries and have condemned coins, but it's important to know these things, especially if you're not buying slab coins. I mean, the slabbing takes a lot of the work out of it from a is this real or not standpoint. I mean, their grades, I don't know what they get their grades from, but they're pretty good at identifying whether a coin is real or not real. So, yeah. So that is going to wrap up episode 10. I'm psyched that I've got 10 episodes under my belt. It's been super fun. I really enjoyed doing these and talking about Byzantine coins and talking about the things that I learn and continue to learn. I really enjoy all the feedback and interaction with everybody that's listening. I know we have a small but growing audience, and yeah, I'm hoping that the next 10 will be as fun as the last 10 to make, and we'll see where the podcast takes us. But so far, it's been a great ride. So I appreciate everything. I appreciate all of you listening and all your feedback. And thank you. And we'll talk to you on episode 11.